Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hi.
Hi, Jonathan. People were sending us tweets. They were so nervous that we were going to be gone for a weekend without...
Don't be silly.
Don't be silly, I know. Don't worry, we're here. We're here for you.
Exactly.
You know how the anxiety is going in skating. You were having Grand Prix Final anxiety because the ISU started... they put up videos, like links to where the juniors will go, but they're just advanced things, like placeholders, and it can give skating anxiety, that we're missing out on.
It really did, because I follow the ISU channel, and they do a great job of all those, of posting all the junior Grand Prix events live, and then itemized, all these things. So I was getting the email notifications about it, and then all of a sudden I had to write you, Dave. I was like, oh my gosh, am I missing the Junior Grand Prix? I'm so behind. But no, they're just very eager beavers.
Eager beavers. No, Ted is at a challenge this weekend, and then Ted goes to Vancouver.
So in a special chariot or something, and the Mounties will escort him. Yeah.
I'm going. I would like to meet him, but...
Yeah, I'm very jealous you get to go.
Well, I'm only going for the free skate, and I'm really going to hopefully do some interviews and stuff there.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
but I'm going with a friend. I'm going as a viewer, so I'm taking it all in
as a civilian.
Well, because I wasn't planning to go until it's like So anyway, I didn't know if I could. I do interviews at work and stuff, and I had like a thing I can't miss. So I'm flying out like in the morning. Whatever, I'll be there on Friday night, and then okay. So let's dive into the Grand Prix Final, and then we could talk a little bit about Tallinn and just kind of our thoughts on how Team USA is doing. I thought I would ask you about that off the cuff.
Great.
Yes.
Surprise. Okay.
Yes. So let's start with the qualifiers. In the men, for those who have been living under a rock, Yuzuru Hanyu had to withdraw. He's going to be off the ice for about 4 weeks, and then we'll see him later on in the season. So that'll be really exciting for the World Championships to kind of...
So after all your snark about no Canadian, here comes Keegan Messing.
I know, but I wasn't the snarkiest because...
No, you were being silly. You were making a joke about how America's in a tough place a lot of times. It was just fun. Yeah.
Well, other people said, wait, the Canadians don't have anyone in the Grand Prix? And people were like, they were too busy thanking Canada. So it's... and also on the Canadians, before we get into it, this is very Canadian, but Thank You Canada was supposed to be broadcast on TV this weekend, but there was a problem in post-production. So it's going to be broadcast later, they said, hopefully before Christmas. But I was wondering what kind of a post-production problem is. You know how like when they used to... do the reskates on like Stars on Ice or some of the shows. Have you ever gone to...
And they talked about like waiting forever to get that triple toe. The one time they like waited an extra hour to try to get them to land it. Yeah.
I once saw Nancy do about 15 double axels that she kept like wiping out on at like the Caesars Palace women's event for a Disney show. So she was skating to Cher and she kept wiping out on it. So I was wondering like, is this Patrick Chan's fault again? Was he missing things in the show? Someone needs to tell us who was at the broadcast, what the theory is. But the most Canadian thing ever is they preemptively got people to not send like hate mail to Canada, but they said, please send thank yous to CTV for figuring out, or CBC, whichever, for figuring out, for working on the edit. Like they're like, thank them in advance.
Nice spin, you guys. That's a PR department hard at work.
Yeah. It was such like Canadian spin. Yes. They're having a real moment. But the other news about this is that the Stars on Ice Canada list came out, and Tessa and Scott are no longer doing Stars on Ice Canada because they have their own tour, which
fair enough.
Is interesting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But that's also good for them in the fact that they're kind of ballers because IMG has had this monopoly on shows and tours and things, and this really changes the game a little bit. It gives opportunities to skaters and obviously can kind of keep people around because we saw teams like Weaver and Poge, Chuck and Bates, who don't really know whether they should move on because maybe they're not going to get enough shows because there are only so many spots. But now that there are more shows, they can kind of, people can kind of move on to the professional ranks or do, more things. So it'll be interesting.
Well, and hopefully because they're interesting artists and they have a lot riding on their brand, like they can't rest on the laurels of just you're coming to see skating in any way. So I hope that they're able to go back to this idea of a bit more thematic or a bit more well thought out and crisply choreographed and organized kinds of shows, instead of just the same old variety pack of show numbers.
Yeah, I think from what we've heard, I haven't watched it all yet, but it seemed like a pretty solid effort for a first tour. So it certainly seemed impressive. So, and hopefully a little bit more current than Stars on Ice, maybe.
Well, because even back in the day, if I would I go see Stars on Ice, or would I rather have gone to see one of the Torvill and Dean shows? Oh, so much more interesting to see one of those, like those kinds of shows to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. Oh, I actually watched the Boitano Vit tour. You could find that on YouTube, and it was called like Chrysler Skating or something. And it was interesting because it was a Sandra production, and it was sort of like Stars on Ice, but it was a little bit more creative. Even though they didn't have all A-list skaters, you had your Gary Beacom number, and it was more interesting in ways than just Stars on Ice. I'll link to it. In the comments so that you can see it. It was an interesting kind of production. I thought it was, I think Sandra.
I can barely tolerate show skating.
I enjoy some show skating, Come on, Jonathan. Don't you miss seeing Roz go for that double axel? I'll make a wish for you. Skating to Casper. I mean, come on. I love the glitz. I was a girl who wanted to be in a show like Christy Yamaguchi. That's why we were competing,
Okay.
We wanted to win to get to the shows. So,
but I saw you posted the Oksana Bayul, The Feeling Begins. Now, in that era, with the leg up behind her. Now that was show skating. That was showy skating.
I loved the professional competitions and took them.
And Denise Spielman, Let the Beat Control Your Body. I mean, there are occasional exceptions.
Come on, you love a professional.
Which is like shaking it down, yeah.
Come on, Rory Flack coming out. This is skating. Yeah. Now we're gonna have that girl.
And at the time, she was Rory Flack Berghardt.
Yes.
And Mr. Berghardt is coaching Keegan Messing. See, it's all tied in.
So they've both coached Keegan, only they're divorced. So I don't know how this really works. Like, are they both working like with Ships in the Night? Like with
Keegan? I've never seen to. She's definitely never around in the Kiss and Cry or anything, but it would be fun. I follow her on Instagram, and she says she's actually related to Roberta Flack, which I don't know if that's real or not, but she's one of my favorites. So there you go.
She's interesting.
I wish Kirsten Moortowers was skating to the Roberta Flack version of that song, but that's all right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. See, look at all these tie-ins. We're tying all these loose ends.
It's like I'm doing my Ancestry.com. It all comes together
the end. That's right.
Uncovering the family secrets one by one, by the way.
Oh, beautiful. Yikes.
Would you want me searching your family secrets, Jonathan? I will find it out.
No, thank you, Dave. We're good. We're going to keep them locked up.
We had some teenage mothers in the family. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Yuzuru Hanyu off the ice for 4 weeks. So that really changes the game with the field. It's now Shoma Uno, Nathan Chen, Mikhail Breshna, Sergei Voronov, Cha Junhwan, and Keegan Messing. So, and is it going to be Junhwan Cha? Like, is he going to do the Korean name, like last name first name first? I'm very curious. Chen Lu.
Well, it's my understanding that when you go to the competition, that they have you say your name, right? So that the announcer can hear it and pronounce it as properly as they are able. So to me, as the announcer says it, not on the broadcast, but as the announcer in the arena says it.
Yes. No, she does do the announcing.
Is she going to do it for the Grand Prix Final?
I don't know, but if you ever like rewatch the Olympics from 2010 or from the Olympics, it's PJ, and that's how she got that gig, is because she was, her mother was a big dance judge apparently, but PJ knows different languages, so she volunteered as the announcer in the arena, and then she started working with the TV and got in that way. But yeah, you can hear her voice if you go and watch like the 2010 Olympics and you listen closely. That's PJ doing the announcing.
Oh, I never clued into that. I'll have to re-listen.
Yeah, I wasn't throwing shade. Like, that's really, like, what she does. Like, she's, like,
well, because, especially at the Olympics, that would be, like, a huge honor, I would think.
She's done it because in the Summer Olympics, too, for different sports, so.
Okay. Well, because some of the skaters will say, oh, it's so silly when they mispronounce our names because they have us say them so that they can hear it. And, like, in Estonia this weekend, they kept saying Danny O'Shea. And like all these different like funny things, but I would try to like probably hone in on how the announcer says it because it's the networks that seem to change their minds, the most.
Yeah. So, yeah, and they say so many names. They probably have so many that they're announcing that you
right.
And you know that if they mess up one, those people are probably very upset.
I know at their big moment.
Yes. So that's like their triple. They don't want to miss that. So. Anyway, so I was thinking, what do you think about the men? It went from being kind of Hanyu and the Supremes, Shoma and Nathan, to now it's kind of like Florence and Mary Wilson battling it out for who gets to, take the lead on Someday We'll Be Together. I don't know. Like, who are you thinking? Are you going with Nathan or Shoma? Or do you think it's going to be a surprise from the Raphael camp?
Well, I think we're in 3 sections, right? And I think it's very possible with this kind of content that they are trying, Shoma and Nathan. If someone has a really splatty day, I think it's very possible that our friend June could sneak right in the middle of them by chance.
Okay.
Which as purely a spectator, I think would be a really fun thing to see everything switched up a little bit. At this particular moment, I wonder if Nathan doesn't have the edge technically, though. I don't know what to... I mean, the short program I like very much of Nathan's, but I think the PCS are for sure going to Shoma. I think the judges have shown us that. And the quality of elements for Nathan will probably be the determining factor. Don't you think this will be a GOE kind of competition?
It could be, yeah. And I wonder which quads we'll see from Nathan. We haven't seen him do a quad Lutz all year. That was usually a pretty good quad for him. We haven't really seen the quad Saukow, so I'm curious to see what they work on for this.
Right, but I think June could really change things up.
I also think Keegan could too.
Really? Okay, that's it. I mean, he had such a stellar Skate Canada, and then. After he faltered at the next event, I was unsure now.
He's just seemed to be overall at a steady baseline this season, right? Yeah. So, like, you have your down, but maybe he goes back up here? Because sometimes the second Grand Prix can be down for some people, right? Whereas Tara and Danny seem to start, like, in the gutter and then come up, right? So I think, like, for some people, the second, like Michelle's second Grand Prix, which usually do them back-to-back, but usually she would take a little dip and then go back up. Maybe she would still win it. But... I'm wondering if he will... I could see him being about 4th here or 5th. I don't see him... I don't think he's coming just to participate. I think with Voronov
No,
and Brezhnev,
of course not.
I think that they certainly have shown the propensity to leave the door open. Whether it's mistakes or whether... I honestly don't know what to expect from Brezhnev. I mean, he did really well early on in the Grand Prix, and I wonder what that portends. I think it's an open door. I have no idea what this is going to be.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. Like the nice thing for Keegan was Hanyu was pretty upfront. I mean, it was coming in loud and clear with the crutches on the thing. I don't think Keegan was caught off guard by being an alternate. I think he was probably training just as if he was for sure going to go. The thing about our Czech favorite is it reminds me of the Adam Rippon year when he did so well on his 2 Grand Prix. And then it seemed like he was, kind of skating for 6th when he got to the actual final, just based on the content. So I thought maybe he could have a really enjoyable skate and just enjoy it. But remember, he kind of let that pressure get to him about being in that kind of company. And he imploded a bit at the Grand Prix final. And I could see how, but hope that it does not, happen to Brezhnev for that very reason. He had 2 really confidence-boosting Grand Prix events. Probably is like, oh, right, I still have it, and they do like me, and is getting encouraged. And I hope he's able to ride that encouragement of kind of, instead of getting freaked out, because they did make it more so maybe even than other years. they did make it pretty clear who was going to come out on top in these events. There weren't too many really deep fields in this Grand Prix. Yeah. So
I think it'll be
intriguing.
Yeah, it'll be intriguing to see what happens, I think, in the ladies' event, because you have Zagitova, Rika Kihira, Satoko Miyahara, Elizaveta Tuktamysheva, Kaori, Sakamoto, and Sofia Samodurova. And I think it'll be really...
Did you mean to just list them in order of the way I think they're going to go? Because that's what you just did.
No, I was actually saying...
You literally called it, if we were doing a fantasy, that is exactly how I might have called it.
But I do think that I think that Zagitova is going to skate like this is a very important competition to win, like one of the two most of the year. I think she will be primed and ready to go. That said, if she makes any mistakes, and if Rika Kihira can land 3 triple axels, and I think for Rika, her real thing, maybe not even the triple axels, but to do 2 clean skates after having a miss short in the last competition, you don't want to develop a habit where you're now bombing the short program, because that can start to become a thing. So I think she needs to go out and nail that short program here and then go for it all in the free. I don't expect her to be leading, certainly after the short. I think Zagitova has had a pretty consistently solid short program, throughout the season.
And the judges are very much behind her in PCS. Like, I think in order for there to be an upset, the stars would have to align for Rika in a major way, where unfortunately it would mean Zagitova really have to load and Rika would really have to hit in order for that switch to happen, because the judges, I think, are very keen on creating longevity of name and reputation at this juncture. So if Zagitova does just enough, I think they'll be more than happy to give her a huge win.
And I think for Kihira, she is at that stage where it's like, okay, she's moving up. Is this temporary? Or is she now one of the top names? And this final, I think, is going to really set that in motion as we go towards the end of the season. Because I think that if she does well, and kind of solidifies her spot, it'll kind of solidify things going into nationals, going to 4 continents and worlds, where then they expect her to win. Whereas if she has, let's say she does 4th, 5th, 6th here, doesn't really deliver, has mistakes, I think that they will still judge her as a medal contender rather than a gold medal contender. And I think those are 2 very different things. So I think this can kind of set her up as being a challenger if she does well.
Momentum is very important for her right now.
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting this way in skating and in other things as well. But like, this placement either justifies those 2 wins or almost invalidates those 2 wins in a way. So it's a strange pressure that it's not even about the moment, but how it will define the previous victories.
Yeah, because the impression is not solid on her yet, right? Like, we don't have a fully formed opinion of her and how she's going to handle huge pressure. She hasn't won a junior world title. We haven't necessarily seen her at the Junior Grand Prix Final really come through before. And Zagitova has. So, and Satoko has been there. Tuktamysheva, when she's been fit and in her fighting form in 2015, was really at the top. So I'm curious to see what she will do and how she will stand up to this pressure. I'm excited. I think that her free skate, the components, that performance, she keeps getting stronger. It keeps getting better. It keeps getting more nuanced, and she's getting more confident as on this stage. So I'm excited to see another great skater in the mix, and kind of, it would be exciting.
And now, are we allowed to reference our Kimi interview? Just give a little...
Yes.
Snippets, but I think the fact that Rika is with someone who, with Hamada, she knows this drill.
Yeah.
She knows how to do this. I feel very confident that all the right steps are being taken in the training to optimize her chances for success. Whereas we talked about less experienced coaches at this level may not know how to make this transition or reputation building opportunity as effectively. So I think she's in good hands, and I hope that she does very well. And I think all the right things are being encouraged at home.
Yeah, I think for Mia Hamada, the only thing that's really different is having 2 top senior competitors. She's had several top juniors, which is very different because you can still push them as for the future, but now you're at the moment, where it really counts. So, and you have Satoko, who has been her loyal, almost like probably second daughter in certain ways.
Yeah.
And now she's...
In a different way, but in a similar way, we saw that moment when Rika, surpassed Satoko. Like, you have that thing that happens when it starts to shift. And I would imagine as a coach, it's hard to not know that everyone's kind of looking at that.
I still consider Satoko to be the premier artist in this group.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I think it's going to come down to how clean can she do her, she do her jumps, and what does that mean? Are we talking silver medal, bronze medal, surprise win? Are we talking falling off of the podium? Because there are a lot of triple axels and strong skates and other skaters who can deliver, strong GOE. So I think it's going to be really interesting if everyone skates well to kind of see.
If everyone skates well, because it's like Sandra told us when she was like, well, the program only matters if everyone has skated clean. Mm-hmm. And this is a very, there's some really great ladies here. Mm-hmm. And the chance of a lot of clean skates is very possible.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to determine, there must be an excitement. I have never seen Elizaveta hit live. Like, I've seen her live when it's not gone well, so I feel like I'm not getting what that energy must be like.
Yeah.
But if you get those beautiful Lutzes, those beautiful triple axels in person, does the PCS and the performance actually somehow rise up? Or are they really, if they're matched in cleanliness, is Satoko's program going to let her surpass Elizaveta? I don't know.
It would be interesting to see her in the skating order. I think it would benefit her to maybe go right after Christina Aguilera rather than go right after Satoko or Rika. I think that would be... or even Kaori, who has, really great skating skills. Maybe not the artistry, but she really has the pure skating. That could be a little bit more... challenging for Elizaveta. She needs to go for someone where she can ride the previous energy and do more and land her jumps and then kind of build on the moment rather than follow up a really beautiful moment and then kind of see the shortcomings.
On the reverse side, Dave, if she were to follow a clean, beautiful, elegant Miyahara, she's going to come out, and the minute she jumps, her jumps are going to look even bigger than they are.
That is true.
But so what she does well will get the boost, but what she doesn't do well will take the hit. So it's a fascinating thing, and I wish I would do this more because and for Vancouver, I'll be able to watch it live in order, I hope. But these skating orders do make a difference, and sometimes when I go back and rewatch events on YouTube, I forget to watch them in skating order because when you watch them in skating order, it informs your opinion in a totally different way.
Yeah, I'm going to try
exactly the reasons you're saying.
So I'm going to try. So I chose not to apply for press anything because I'm going to try to go to the practices in the morning to try to take video and upload because
awesome.
So when you apply for press, you can't do that. So that's what you have to make a choice. And I was thinking,
just between us, Dave.
Just between us, but I was thinking like, what's more beneficial if I can work around and try to do this? Listen, Joe.
Or if you get the same sound bite a lot of people are getting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I'm excited to see it. It's a different view sometimes when you see it from the press area or from this, or there's like so much going on sometimes. I want to just sit and watch,
Well, and I'll be excited to pick your brain about it because, as we know, the biggest difference is seeing them all back to back and really the speed, and then what those jumps feel like in person.
You know what I like to watch?
Elizaveta's triple axel, Rika's triple axel. Like, to see them live, one may be very clearly more exciting to you than the other, and I don't always know how to anticipate that just based on the video.
Well, I like to watch the warm-up. So
Yes.
Because even though some people like Frank would say it's just a warm-up, I even know in adult skating, I got yelled at when my coach didn't like how my warm-up was, or if I spent too much time on something before doing, like, these are usually quite choreographed and quite telling for what's about to happen. So I'm excited to see that. That will be...
And informative about just various strategies and approaches. Yeah. Like, it's who's starting with the double axles, who's starting with the triple axles. You know what I mean? It's just such a neat insight into the way a person works and performs.
Yeah, if you go back and you watch even the Albertville warm-up, you can see that Nancy Kerrigan's about to have a rough skate because she keeps doing double jumps in the warm-up, and it was like, okay, triples weren't that new by here, and she was doing a full program of triples, and now you're starting to look tense, and you're starting to look like you're about to pop, and then, of course, she has a program that's very uneven, and it's... You could see that from the warm-up, whereas you watch Nancy 2 years later, and she's whipping everything off in the warm-up like it's business. So it's interesting to watch. And talking about Kaori and Samodurova, Kaori maybe doesn't have the artistry yet, but she, to me, is kind of like the little engine that could when it comes to the free skate. Like, by the end of the competition, if she's nailing that second half of the program and getting the crowd on her side and doesn't botch the choreographic sequence, I think that she could kind of climb in the standings in an event like this, where she could maybe be, sixth after the short and end up in fourth or fifth and then third. She has that ability to kind of get people on her side from an inherent charm, rather than not being just the top skater yet. But she has big jumps. She's, can have really solid skating skills. And I think, here, that'll be interesting to see how she can kind of get in the mix.
Well, I really like what you mentioned where you separated skating skills from artistry. Yeah. Because I think many people probably see her, and sometimes I am just like, I see a lack of elegance waist up. But what really is happening waist down with the knees and the blades and the edges and things like that are of quality. So you see a quality skater, yet somehow is not necessarily a beautiful skater. And technically, it's why there are so many varying categories for PCS. But I think that's a good distinction to make, because oftentimes when I see an artist, I assume their skating skills are great. And then if I don't see an artist, I assume the skating skills are no good, and that's the reason. Yeah. But they are really two very different things.
And they're variations on a theme from Paganini. Yeah. So
I see what you did there.
Yes. And then Sofia Samodurova, to me, this is a lower...
Enjoy the experience.
Well, I would say enjoy the experience, but she's, again, one of those skaters who she hasn't seemed to be completely affected this season. Like, she seems to be in her own Christina Aguilera world and just kind of doing her thing, and she's here with her training mate, and I think a great opportunity for her. She's obviously in the mix. I think for Sofia, she has to look at pushing to make the world team, and I think that with two strong skates here, she can make a real case for herself. And that would be a problem for Evgenia, for sure, because Evgenia's had a rough fall and not here, and this is her opportunity to kind of take advantage of it or wilt. And I don't think she's a wilter, but I don't know if she's fully psychologically ready to move forward. But
I think there's a ceiling on what she may be able to accomplish. But I'm sure they're making a big push for. It's so funny. A lot of these Russian and Japanese ladies in particular are competing their nationals all the time. Well, I mean, I can't imagine. Yeah.
And for them, this is kind of like step one of nationals, and then in 3 weeks is step two. So this is kind of the first push. So this is like when the gymnasts do nationals before Olympic trials. This is kind of the first pancake,
Oh, Dave, I had an exciting gymnastics moment for you, and I was so eager to share it with you. So the reason I don't have my fancy background and throw pillows is because I'm in Orlando with my family doing a Disney trip. Oh my gosh.
And seeing the Kevin Vanderparen long program at Epcot, I hope,
Gosh, it's so dreamy. Okay. But we went to the Lion King show, and they were doing the monkeys or whatever do uneven bar kind of routines.
Yes.
And each time they went up for the handstand thing, they would totally flop. And my sister turns to me. I didn't even know she knew this much. She's like, gosh, it looks like when Nastia tried to make that comeback and then took down all those videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, I barely got that reference, but I'll be excited to tell Dave that something gymnastics was referenced in my life. So there you go.
That comeback is still a sore subject. So
yeah. Tough times.
Tough times. Okay. Aunt Joyce was really on her team. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
It was rough. We were hoping and praying in every language. It just...
Well, there's always a place for her as a monkey in the Lion King adventure or whatever it was called.
Yes. Oh, Nastia. So. Well, she's now doing sometimes she does skills on the balance beam for us on an Instagram. Tara just does her swivels, but, you know, Nastia was doing actual skills. So
okay.
I was like, Tara, do a sit spin, please. You had a good one. You know, you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So in the pairs here, it's kind of Vanessa and Morgan against Tarasova and Morozov, and then everyone else, Zabiakov and Enbert, Peng and Jin, De La Monica and Guaris, and Pavlyuchenko and Khorikian. So I am really... Are Vanessa and Morgan ready to win the Grand Prix final? They seemed a little shaky at their last event. You know, they need
for me, if they pull out Skate Canada version,
they win.
I went back and watched their Skate Canada long again, trying to refresh because the French one was more in my memory. And it was kind of an epic moment that I didn't know that I fully appreciated when I was first watching Skate Canada. But just like the gravitas and these enormous meaningful things, to me and my taste, if they both hit, there is no question. I think what Morgan and Vanessa are doing is so important for the sport. I think it is of quality. It's unique. It's interesting. It's non-traditional, but not in a cringy type of way. I think it would be really important to encourage it. So we'll see which version they bring, because they were actually so tremendous at Skate Canada that I worried about them, you know, trying to be perfect every time. So it will be a fascinating showdown. However, from my viewpoint, I am really rooting for one team to win here.
Well, I'm
for
curious.
The sport.
I want to see Tarasova and Morozov live and really see the quality in person. Because I saw them in France live last year, and the twist in person, as expected, was very beautiful, and they really do hit some beautiful extension moments. But I remember, now this was the Candyman, but it just like kind of left me, you know, apathetic. Okay. So we'll see. But the Canadians are going to be so behind them, but I feel they're really going to be behind the French. Yeah, I think that the French are kind of one of those teams that's getting adopted by other countries. But I'm curious to see, are they psychologically ready to be the winners, you know? Yeah. And let's do it. So, Zdelina, you know, stay I want to see. And, you know, Tarasova Morozov, they've had some time to be Russia number one, and they haven't necessarily been 100% confident. You know, it's taken them a long time to really come together for a team that has so much talent and potential. You know, they haven't really stepped through that door, you know, in the way. And I think it takes something different to be the face of your country's, you know, the face of your discipline in your country. And I think they have skated a bit like number two in their country, even though they were clearly the best in their country. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense to me. I'm following you, you know?
Okay. Now, what I'm intrigued here, because it seems, of course, anything can happen, that 1 and 2 are pretty locked up here.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued where this bronze goes.
Zabiakov and Enbert, I'm thinking.
Okay, I'm secretly hoping the Italians pull off a miracle.
Because he's beautiful and we like him.
I know, but they do have some exciting technical elements, although I do remember seeing them live. A bit of the speed was lacking. So I'll be intrigued to get your take on the speed, especially between those two teams, because there's a lot of shifting, yes, at the top, but we always expected that. It's going to be where these other ones kind of fall in that will be very intriguing.
I would like to see Peng and Jin seize the moment. And will they be the only Chinese team competing this year? What's going to happen? I think that's still up in the air as we look forward to the important part of the season. But I do have news. We'll preview. Also, Zagreb is going on at the same time. So kind of for like the skaters who just missed, many of them are going to Zagreb. And Jason Brown, Deanna and Nate, other teams that, Alexa and Chris that were hoping to be here, Ashley and Tim. But I did hear something.
Yeah, it's like American nationals for pairs in Zagreb.
This is good because I think we need more competition against each other.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to say, I did hear a rumor that there's going to be a new short program debuted next week. And I'm not saying that I endorse it.
At Zagreb?
At Zagreb.
Okay.
You know...
So stay tuned. All the reason to turn in to that golden spin.
You know that your boyfriend, Jim Peterson, loves to choreograph himself, even though, you know, we know he's controlling. Yes. We know he loves to pick music. Yes. So Deanna and Nate, they haven't just had 3 different Salchow entries this season. We're now seeing that he's making more changes. He got rid of the short, which has been a little bit of a bugbear for them this season, and he's blaming just on the program has bad energy. And
Must be.
They're doing a new short. And
Gosh, it's maybe not my dream come true, but maybe they should take Danny and Tara's old short. Because I love that short.
They could take Danny and Tara's old short, and Jim was involved, but I don't think they're... So do you know what the music is? Think of Jim.
Oh, Dave, you're gonna break my heart. It's something Broadway. Something Broadway.
Yes, it is something Broadway. Yes, it's not Phantom.
Okay, step 1. That's good.
Yes,
that's good.
But it's in that vein because remember Tara and Danny did Phantom, but they did do. You hated the music edit of it because it was
Babs. It's not Babs.
It's Babs.
Oh my gosh.
And think about what's coming.
I can barely believe it. Okay.
Think about what's coming back to Broadway.
West Side.
Someday, somewhere. I mean, don't you just picture her being like, and then, you know, doing the lift on the swell. I mean, you know.
It's a whole thing.
You know they're going to reach out their hands, you know. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. You know Jim would do that very literally.
Yeah.
Yes, you know that's like the program. Jonathan.
Well, and you know what's funny? Like they almost got it because it's a Bernstein year this year. It's his 100th anniversary, or I mean his birthday. So it's a centennial Bernstein or Bernstein, depending on how much money you make. It's like it would have been epic to have done it in 2018, but I guess we're really just going to see it for the majority of 2019 instead. And Barbara's version is the most, you know, when you get too famous and you become a caricature of yourself. We know it happens in skating all the time. And it happens in singing as well. And Barbara was so amazing. And then you just get so famous that people just let you indulge. And her version of Somewhere is one of the most over the top. Lenny would have hated every minute of it, but we'll look forward to seeing it in Zagreb.
Do you think I just want her to have a moment during the lift where she's like, you know, like really just luxuriating in it, like really over the top, just, you know, something that Jim and his mother would love together. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready for
Broadway Gold. Okay.
Yes. And then in the ice dance, this to me is really interesting because Hubbell and Donohue qualified in first, followed by Stepanova and Bukin, Sinitsina and Katasalapov, Guinard and Fabry, Hawaii and Baker, and Zahorsky and Guerrero. And Jonathan, Madison and Zach favored to win on some respect here, you know, being ranked first, but the Russians have been coming, and Madison and Zach have not had the history of seizing the moment. Are those demons behind them? Are they going to perform? There's been some questions about, you know, the strength of their material. And can they deliver? Is this going to be a performance where they go out and they're expected to win and it's a bomb? You know,
So let me ask you this then, because do you think that, like, you know, our comments about them, because I think I'm speaking for both of us when I think we're both big fans. Yeah. Like, I think we like them. I certainly like them a lot. I know you do as well. This year, my concerns have been about the content and less about their ability to do it in the moment. Mm-hmm. Would you agree? Or are you?
But this is a whole new situation, you know, at the final. But I think that they should be prepared unless they let themselves get in their minds. But I wonder if their coaching team has been really kind of seeing this and on top of it, you know. So I'm wondering, just will they seize the moment? And you know, we saw them so early in the Grand Prix, so they may have fine-tuned that pattern, really developed their program, and it may be completely stronger than we've seen it, you know, 5 weeks
because
ago.
Their stronger performance wasn't, I believe, in my opinion, was at Skate America, and then they were a little more burnt out by Skate Canada. So they seem to be the kind of team that that does their best when they come in fresh.
Yeah.
Versus you really do see some people kind of get the jitters out and then do better the next time around. So I think them being fresh will be good. I think, yes, they are the clear favorites. But this Russian push, especially for Bukin, they seem to be pushing Bukin even more, is that I think it will be not a big victory like maybe it should be. I find Bukin and Stepanova outrageously entertaining. But I don't think the PCS should, with the exception of interpretation and performance or something like that, should really be at the same level.
Yeah. So I'm working on
skills and things.
I've been working on the video for the key points, and it's a little hard to do it. And I know that it's just going to probably for many people anyway. But I'm trying to break it down and simplify it. I like Stepanova and Bukin's pattern. They did have some problems, especially at one of their Grand Prix events, when she holds the inside edge for 4 on the first key point. She almost just wobbled when she. And
when you say hold it for 4, you mean she's holding it for 4 counts?
Yes, Jonathan, you'll love it because they have to count.
Okay,
it's 4 beats in a measure, and they have to step down on 1. I mean, this has musician written all over it.
Yeah, you need them in like mommy music and me classes where they're clapping to 4 and doing a stomp on the downbeat or something. Yeah.
And Guillaume's annoying because he's like me, like he just wants to hold that whole note forever, but it's 4 counts, Guillaume, you gotta.
And that can be really tough. I even remember Jeremy Abbott talking about some of his spins, because Jeremy was many things, but he did feel that music, I believe. And so you would hear the music and just want to spin a certain amount as it matched the music. But so many times you really have to fight that because you're counting, with a calculator, it seems, instead of feeling with your heart. But whatever.
I remember watching them when they did their waltz in practice in Boston and being like, they are not getting the triplet.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Bum, 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 bum. And
they need your rhythmics. Yeah, exactly.
So I'll be, this pattern is why I love Stepanova and Bukin's, is that Edith Piaf song is like counting for dummies. It's literally like she's got like a da 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 dun.
And then we clue into it, and we're like, "Look, we're right with them." Yeah, it's very smart that way.
That was a very smart music choice, and it really does work quite effectively. So I'll be curious to see. I think for the rest, it's going to be. I think it's really about the top 2 here and what comes out, and then how will Viktoria and Nikita do? Because that's going to be. So
I anticipate, because their push has been very large too, and a little less justifiable in my opinion than the Bukin one.
But they have the Julin,
They have that Julin thing going on, so I really see them as a kind of a lock for 3rd.
And I wonder, is Julin focused on them this year, or is he focused on the Spanish team again? Because that drama ensues between Hurtado and then Olivia Smart. So I'll be really curious to kind of see where that goes. Especially, remember, Zagreb is where it all happened with. Got to go to the Olympics last year. So, yeah.
But I think we did determine they'll both be able to go to Europeans.
Yes.
Which was, I don't believe, the case last year.
Not the case.
So, so I think this will be very, well, technically this year, you know what I mean, last season. I think that will really be a showdown and make Europeans very interesting in the dance.
Yeah, and then we'll see next week. Jason Brown, Kolyada will be in Zagreb. Other names, Denis Vasiliev will be
the
there.
Yellow Pants.
Samarin. So that's a pretty.
That's a good lineup. That's like a Grand Prix lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Fentz, our friend from Germany.
Oh yeah.
In the ladies, it is from the U.S. Brady Tennell, Mariah Bell, and Megan Wessenberg is on the I'm Sorry, Mark and Peter tour. She gets another assignment.
Great. She's really doing a lot.
That fixes everything for them, sure. Yeah. I think also we have...
But that's another national showdown. I think many, ourselves kind of included, really think it's a Mariah Brady situation for that podium at nationals. It's going to be a fun shakedown to see where they stand currently.
Oh, and your friend Sotskova will be there. So that's another...
Well, we're kind of on the outs.
On the outs this week. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the pairs, we have Deanna and Nate somewhere,
someday. Yeah.
We have Alexa and Chris, Kane and Leduc, Efimova and Korovine, and that's and some German teams. Oh, Ruben Blomert and Anika Hawk will be there. So that's an interesting little matchup pre-nationals. And then in the ice dance, Popova and Mozgov, Annabelle and Andrei Bagin.
I saw that, yeah.
Annabelle, who's doing Tosca with Michael Bolton.
And his album is called My Secret Passion. I mean, I used to put that on as like a party gag, to listen to his cutoffs and anything quote unquote operatic. It's something.
And Piper and Paul, and they need a strong outing here to kind of give them some momentum. Tweedle and Buckland as well, and Jankovska, Lukas. So it'll be a good Zagreb moment. I think we'll have a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, I think we'll have a lot to look at with the rhythm dance in particular for Piper and Paul. It will be important to revisit.
Yeah, and the Junior Grand Prix, this is interesting because the Japanese did a documentary on Eteri's rink, and they did it on her junior skaters. But what I thought was interesting is that they only cared about the two with quads. They left Kosternaya.
Well, that's the story. And of course, to me, the only one worth talking about. I love Kosternaya.
I think the story is all three, but they filmed it like it was just the two of them training together and motivating each other. It was like a Naomi and Sasha fluff piece where they left out the third member. I don't know. I think Kosternaya may have the biggest longevity of all of them. So
because she's not doing those quads. I was hoping we would see that triple axel from her, but you know what? All the more reason to respect her journey is because she's not forcing it.
Yeah.
So
I'll be curious to watch them in person. That's, one of the real things I want to watch. So
especially those quads in person. It was interesting when we were talking to Kimmy and she was talking about Mao's triple axel and things like that. But I remember the first time I saw Mao's triple axel in person, I was like, oh, it's so sweet. Instead of like this like boom kind of thing. And I'm curious what you will think of those quads in that rotation. It would probably a dizzy blur. To see that kind of rotation in person would be exciting.
Oh, eyes on Eteri. I think I want to really be able to watch that.
And Danny's coat.
Yes.
Whatever coat brings out. Yeah.
He was on Instagram in his story, like laying in bed with his cat this week. That was entertaining. So I was into that.
I'm into that.
Yeah. But we had some things at the Tallinn Trophy. Some Americans made brief appearances there.
Very short programs.
So this is interesting because we've had this little like experiment with Tom and Tammy has been going on for a couple of months now. The Korean skaters have seemed to do well with it, have come ready to improve their jumps, but we haven't really seen the Americans gel under this system. And so Karen Chan performed, and what did you... It was another head scratcher for me on why we would go.
On why we would go, I agree. On what exactly was to be accomplished. And I think sometimes... I had a friend that thought she worked in extremes, and she didn't. She was a little overweight, and I remember her saying, like, oh, I'm going to start going to the gym. So I'm going to get up at 5 a.m., and I'm going to do a 3-hour workout every day this week. And I was like, well, that's no way to set yourself up for success. And I wonder if, like, Karen sets these goals as if it will her to do them. You know what I mean? But I don't know that the motivation is there if they think that setting a deadline creates that motivation. But it was just like, it just... Now, did I think that it was so horrendous that I thought she needed to withdraw to save her reputation? Well, I think that's an indicator as to they knew what may be coming up. So... because the short was bad, but it wasn't the worst thing I had ever seen.
So in this case, it's definitely the USFS that's paying for you to go to these senior Bs, right? And I look at it like this. Was it worth spending several thousands of dollars to send a skater like Karen to fly over
Estonia, which is not a direct flight.
Not a direct
from
flight.
Denver, yeah.
Hotel. They pay for you to have a coach to go with you, lodging, meals. Or should you be putting it towards someone else's coaching, choreography costs, something like that? Is this the best way that the USFS could be investing their money? Is sending Megan Wessenberg on the I'm Sorry Ross Minor tour better than really taking a skater like Ting and saying, okay, we want you to use a choreographer at a higher level than Derek Delmore, have a costume that's world class, have a music that's world class, and really prepare a skater who can be competitive, or is that what we should be doing? And I think that we're kind of trying to be so egalitarian with all of the skaters who are maybe in the top 15, top 10, but maybe we need to be really emphasizing certain ones to investing in to really get the preparation, because we're getting a lot of just slop, and to me, I heard, and from several sources, that Karen's been having a really tough time in the rink, and that coming back from injury. But it seems like, I don't know what her injury is, I don't know what the prognosis is, but what I do know is that she has been in the rink, but she's been kind of injured in the rink, floundering, where she's working, but she can't do any of her jumps, and she can't do a triple Salchow, but then you try to will it out of competition, and it's like, why not be smart about when you're injured, rest, heal, then come back to when you're useful, rather than this whole thing we get in where the skaters are injured and looking like they're an animal ready to be shot,
and then you're not allowed to be disappointed. We're supposed to expect without commentary that they implode, but it's like you're saying, it's not a disappointment just in that skater themselves, it's a disappointment and a lost opportunity to help develop someone else. And like you're saying, provide funds that can help someone else. I'm still frosty about her withdrawing so at the last moment and denying another skater from any country the opportunity to compete at a Grand Prix event. It just seems, and it's also that idea of when if a friend just calls and tells me and they're like, I am so sorry, I am 15 minutes late. But if you keep telling me you're 1 minute away and suddenly it's 15 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck, and it's that kind of idea. We understand that injuries happen. Of course, everyone would understand that. But it's also a bit, Karen is becoming more and more, I fear, in the reputation of skating as a persona non grata, because she keeps having this issue. It's always something. It's never her fault. Things continually let down. But that comes in the
preparation, right? And don't you think, and I don't think, Tom and Tammy seem like two of the thirstiest coaches for success, and it works for and against them. It works for them in the case that they keep trying and they keep pushing athletes, but then they don't know how to rest athletes or work with the human factor. So someone like Karen, she's not ready to go out there. It doesn't make you look good. It doesn't make Karen look good to go out.
It's the total opposite.
And then people will say, well, she wanted to try before nationals. Send her to sectionals and have her do an exhibition performance. You know what?
Have her do a show.
It's a lot more cost effective. And you knew, and we all knew, that Karen was not prepared to do that performance. And it was obvious. So it was another case, and we talked about this with Kimmy when she wasn't ready and she was encouraged to go on the Grand Prix and do doubles. That's not...
Anyway, for points or for this or for some nonsensical reason. And it's you have to have a set of standards, of course. And in the same way, when an actor has a big hit movie, the next movie is very important. Don't just take any script, you know, and that's a bit what this feels like. And for people, like you're saying, that are very thirsty coaches, I would think that a bit more care would be taken into the preservation of their reputation.
But
they would be doing their own monitoring.
Honestly, they seem like they bring out the worst in each other, Tammy and Tom, where they both have...
It doesn't seem a friendly kiss and cry, does it?
No, not a friendly kiss and cry, but they're both so driven, and they're both known for training skaters into the ground. When you look at Vincent, and I was having an interesting conversation. So Vincent, I think at this point we can all say that post about the under rotations was ridiculous. I mean, you could see all of his under rotations in real time, and the judges sure saw them here in Estonia.
Right.
Jonathan, the rotation is lacking. The GOE on the elements is rather base value, +1, -1
Maybe.
For a lot of things, right? It's in that range. And the skating skills are between a 6.75 and an 8.
but those skating skills here had him in good stead. Do you know what I mean? Like his PCS, because of this field, that he didn't lose on PCS for as much as like in the general.
He was against Kovtun though. I mean, look at who he was against. But like what I'm saying.
But so he should have won.
Well, he should have won. Yes, but he's. My point is, it's like he didn't grow up like someone who couldn't skate. They just haven't focused on it in the last like 4 years. They've been so jump focused that area of his skating has fallen behind, right? Like, so it's like he grew up like a decently well-rounded skater, but then it's been jump, get the quad, get the triple axel, get the quad, and go out there. But they haven't gotten a clean quad in 4 years, right? Like, we have toyed with all of these quads that more often than not have a carrot next to them. Well, if he just focused on 1 or 2 of the quads and said, I'm going to get the rotations of these, then you could have more time to get those clean and work on the other areas of your skating. With Vincent, I would rather see him develop in the skating skills and the performance and see him pay more attention to the GOE on every jump and every spin, and he'd score higher. He's someone that could be getting near the podium if he was managed better, but the overall impression is a sloppy one. When you see someone...
Why does it have to be the most difficult quads? Because he's going to get more points for a beautifully executed full quad toe. Yes. That makes total sense to me. And I thought this was an interesting thing when Tom had Max. We've got this whole he's got the jumps though. And I was like, but he never seems to have the jumps. Yeah. So we're talking about athlete versus artist, but the athlete isn't doing the athleticism to full credit or to the highest point value. So it does, in a points game, play the game. Yeah. Tom seems to know so much about technique that it blows my mind but it seems lofty in trying to tick the most difficult boxes, like you're saying, instead of quality.
It's like when he had Tessa Hong do all of the jumps in the second half, and I'm sure that it sounded really great to her skating parents, but you have to look at what this athlete can execute and what will set them up for success and allow them to achieve their best. And if the skater's not able to do the jumps in the second half, if you're not able to do the quads cleanly, adding more of them doesn't help, right? And it winds up giving lower components, the whole thing gets trashed. So I think that it would be better to set Vincent up for success and see it there. So I'm curious to kind of see what happens moving forward with that. So, But they need to make some sort of a change there. Ting, I thought, was really charming and lovely here. She had a uneven performance at sectionals, but this was a stronger performance. When she got good jumps from Vincent, and apparently Vincent was not one to make them train full programs, and that wasn't the focus. Her focus at the time was getting the quad, getting the difficult triples, getting these jumps, and now they're starting to focus on the program more. She's someone I would really like to see a qualified person in the federation encourage the proper management of a skater like this, like the programs, who they should be going to, the packaging. Like, this is what's missing to get a skater like this to the next level, and what it's going to take.
Yes, because this is that exact moment that when the right person comes in and hones in on the exact right things or starts to take care to the exact right portions of her skating, it will elevate like that, I believe. But this is also that point when we see someone with some beautiful qualities, some great jumps, just completely just diverge from that path to stardom also.
I look at a skater like her and I said, okay, the dress has to go. The choreography is not what she could be capable of.
Sleepy.
Yeah. But watch her do a triple loop and the landing and the leg, and you're like, oh my God, we could
with the feet.
Yes, we could be getting a beautiful GOE protocol from this skater. Like, the judges want to reward a skater who can get the height in the jumps, have an aesthetic landing leg. Like, there's a lot to work with here.
She has like a beautiful light quality, and they're fighting it already in the music a little bit. Less so. One was a little bit more French and dreamy, which I think is very much what she does.
I mean, come on. I think we would put her with Lori Nickel, call Lisa McKinnon, get this, take the money that we could, saying Karen and Megan Wessenberg, and put that to getting her to a Lori Nickel, to a proper costume, and someone like Ting. And then I think that we need to do is get these skaters. We have, we talked about this a little bit. I would be having them film their run-throughs and providing the detailed feedback and kind of scoring them with having Lori Parker and having like another top judge and a caller, and kind of use the system to do like a virtual points.
Assessment.
And then if you want to make an argument about a body of work, you can have a legitimate
body of
work to talk about. And you could kind of talk about, and it would make it easier to send Adam to the Olympics over Ross Minor, because you would have so much data to go by, and so much like, we've told you to work on this was not addressed, this is where you should be working. And I think that would be a really helpful thing for parents, for development of skaters, and overall I think that is what we need to be really doing to get these American skaters to the next level. And for some of them, would force them
to be relevant again. Yeah,
because there clearly something needs to change, I think. So Tara and Danny, I thought that they were stronger. They're getting to a point where I think that they'll make 4 continents. It'll be interesting to see how Alexa and Chris show up. Their death spiral, they got a level 2 in the short, and they got positive GOE.
It's one of those things, once you pointed it out about how high or low she was, you cannot unsee it. And now you look for it every time, and it's just not there.
No. So they get level 1 because of his entrance into it, right? He does the spread eagle into that back outside death spiral. But you're like, is her head above, below? Like,
it's a tricky thing. And even with the hand down on the throw, the American judge in this Paris competition, unacceptable. I'm sure, I know this happens, I'm sure, with every country. I in the past had not seen it as blatant as this. The judging from the American judge in the Paris free was absolutely unacceptable and biased by obscene amounts of points, and I thought it was really gross. +2 for that throw with the hand down. All the PCS scores like 10 points higher than people around that. It didn't make any sense, and it was just blatant. It would be the kind of thing, if I was the ISU, I'm like, that's blatant. Okay. Just like it is sometimes with Canada or Russia or France, whomever. When it's that obvious, like it was with that Paris judge, it's time. I didn't look up who it was. Maybe I should. But
well, I'm doing that right now for us.
Should I just keep ranting and raving about it? Also, because I loved the old. I'm a broken record in so many ways, but since I loved the short they originally had, for them to now have changed it to this just schlock, and then for them to continually had short program errors with it, I was like, now can you go back?
So it was Anne Sheen. I think Anne Sheen is the one who fought with Ann Jensen. I think Anne Jane is the judge that always comes up to me at nationals and whispers like she doesn't want to be seen, but she wants to tell me that she watches. So I think uncomfortable for me as well.
To me as well. Maybe she did that to me as well.
Uncomfortable.
So obviously I like her. Yeah. But that's tough when it was that out of sync with the others.
Yeah. But I want to say it's funny because when I've looked at every Grand Prix this year and looked at these senior Bs, I always think like Ziegler and Kiefer, okay, this is the team that the U.S. needs to beat. And every single time, Ziegler and Kiefer keep winning. Oh, I watched the lives of others this week, so I'm like, Ziegler and Kiefer.
Und Kiefer.
Und Kiefer, yes. I love their names. Like, oh my God, we could not get more... Germanic sounding.
Austrian. Yeah, yes, Germanic in language there, yeah.
So but they deliver. I mean, they're not the most exciting, but they are sturdy, Austria-German, type
solid.
People.
They are just solid, and that'll get you somewhere if, I mean... and speaking of German-speaking skaters, I got a message on Instagram that Ingo Steuer was recently seen at like a 90th anniversary celebration for Jutta Müller.
Well, yes, there's going to be a documentary for the Frau
She deserves one.
Yes.
For a career that spans, 8,000 years from her same-sex skating in the pairs to Gabby, who had her own qualities, and to
Gabby
Jan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
She literally had all 3 gold medals for the ladies in the 80s. I mean, that's unheard of.
You need to... if you missed The Diplomat when it was on ESPN, it wasn't reshown, and they never put it on Netflix. I bought it on YouTube, and you can watch it. And I
bought it on iTunes, and it wasn't that bad. To me, it was one of the most interesting, and it just made me fall in love with Ingo anymore, or even more, rather.
I recommend that, and I really recommend that Red Army documentary about the hockey players with Tarasova's father. That is great too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that this is interesting.
Because if they judged hockey with PCS, the skating skills of that Soviet era
10
hockey skaters, plus five. They were just incredible on every element.
And you can see it when you're watching. My God! And those barbaric Americans, you're like, oh.
I know, it's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap it up, what do you think about our friends from Denmark who are now Quebecois? Laurence, I always remember, is it Laurence Baudry-Fournier or is it Laurence Fournier-Baudry? I think it's Baudry-Fournier and Nikolai Sorensen. I'll be like the Quebecois girl and...
Only one sounds Danish to me.
Yes. But, yes, the Quebecois and their 3 names always. Why is that, by the way? Can anyone answer?
Sounds like a law firm.
Yes.
Poitier and Landry.
But it's interesting because I keep saying it's interesting. They took time away. We had that discussion if Xenia Medvedeva would, take time away from competition, how she would do, if she had more time to develop her skating. And they've had some time away, and this is not a new team. They're just representing a different country, but it feels like we're looking at them with a fresh set of eyes.
Oh, good. Okay. I thought when you said that, I thought you were going and they've now had time set aside, so now they're completely new skaters. Because I didn't find that. I think they had an opportunity to really develop themselves taking that season off, and I felt let down that I feel like they didn't.
I feel like I see some improvements. I do.
Okay.
I think that they've had some improvements, but they're still the same team. They're a different country. They certainly look like a top 3 team in Canada to me, though. And they're certainly getting really high scores. Canada certainly seems to think so, which I believe is why we see Caroline and Shane kind of struggling through their Grand Prix, because they seem to sense this, probably in their own rink, what the situation is for the world team. But they, to me, look confident. I liked their Adios No Nino, but I felt there were times that they seem more matched like a pair team than an ice dance team. So when you watch them do their holds and stuff, they can be a little distracting because they're a huge size difference. They're a Soviet pair team in the 80s.
Yes, exactly. She's this big. No.
Yes.
And in the rhythm dance, it was, I'm sure they had the long skirt to be distracting. Mm-hmm. I believe, because I found it very distracting. And then as I tried to really hone in on what was happening, there were a lot of pushes for speed. There were a lot of 2-foot moments. There was a lot of clumsy, cluttery kind of footwork happening in the rhythm dance. And I felt there especially, it was clear to me that there were still technical improvements that needed to be made. Mm-hmm. Because when I first really became enamored with this team in 2014 or something like that, when they seemed so interesting and the sky was the limit with their creativity. And then it just never really went past that. And then if anything, I found some of the creativity and excitement around their skating really took a step back. And this for me was a little bit of a disappointment.
I was looking at them. I thought that I saw improvements because I think they've had to raise their game because they're in a more competitive federation now. I thought that I saw some improvements for them. I still see areas where you think, okay, this may not improve realistically, but it does make the Canadian ice dance situation much stronger and more competitive and more interesting.
Oh, yeah. It will be a fascinating nationals.
It'll push Caroline and Shane. So...
And right now, you think that Caroline and Shane seem to have slipped to fourth. You don't think it's so much a fight like maybe we thought it was going to be anticipating. It seems pretty...
I think this team is in third. I'm more curious about can Weaver and Poge pull off a win? Or will Weaver and Poge just move to full-time show skating after this season?
Right.
But I'm wondering what will happen there. But I liked this team. Compared to what I'm seeing from Caroline and Shane recently, I'm thinking that this is going to be the bronze medalist in Canadians. But
yeah, maybe in that comparison, I guess just when they first came on, I saw that I had hoped they would have propelled themselves into more relevant standings, actually. I thought when they first came on, I thought they had the potential to really be a top 10, eventually top 6 team, and it just seemed less and less like that may be the case.
Well, I think sometimes these teams that are like the only team from their country, they don't have the competition. If they're not always internally motivated to be, competitive with the rest of the world, I feel like sometimes they get kind of stuck and
stagnant. Stagnant is the word I would have. Yeah. And especially once you know that even the perk of having no one else really skating in your federation is you get that easy pass to the Olympics. And then when they were denied that, I'm sure it was hard to stay motivated. But
I do see an improvement this year. So I like the Adios Niño choice for them. I'm kind of getting sick of all of the tango songs. We've used all of them this year. I'm ready for
especially in a year where you're also doing a rhythm dance that has so much Latin vibe and music to it. It seems a bit redundant.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I'm ready for the next juncture. I think.
Yes.
Lisa McKinnon was saying she's sick of making tango dresses, and I'm over the tangos for a little bit.
We've been over Tex-Mex.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready to move on. So, as always, we want to know, what do you think about everything? What do you think about what happened in Tallinn? Who are your picks to win the Grand Prix final?
One last thought. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm so sorry. They're like, shut up, Jonathan. The one thing I just want to say about Estonia is I would like to give props to the skaters that really performed there. Because if you looked in the audience, I don't mean it was a small crowd. There was no crowd. There was literally only empty seats. It had to feel like you're practicing.
I'm always curious, is the crowd on the other side of the senior Bs?
Not from the audio of the applause.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it was literally like one man going
and
like this.
And Kovtun and Serafima Sekanovic did look stronger for them. They didn't yet look competitive with everyone else in the world, but I did see, she looked a lot stronger than, she's had some rough years, and it looks like she's more back on track.
It was nice to see her so pleased with her outing. Her kiss and cry moments were genuinely nice to see.
Yeah. And Kovtun, I thought, looked way more trained than we've seen him in years. Another Carmen. Yeah. So it'll be a battle.
I didn't realize he was still skating. I'm sorry to say that.
But then he came out.
I thought he had slipped in like a retirement.
He looked way more trained than we've seen him in years. It looked way more put together. So we'll see you next week. I'm excited. What are you most excited about? Leave a comment below. Hold an edge and look sexy. Bye, guys.